Am I the only one that noticed that Ben in the movie isn't wearing no pants and he doesn't have no... Like, seriously, am I the only one that noticed that? But seriously though, the next time you think you're having a bad day, just think. At least you're not Ben Grimm. Ain't walking around with no or anything. Fantastic Four is the fourth attempt at launching the Fantastic Four. For many, many years, Fox has tried so hard to launch the Fantastic Four. First, there's that god-awful, terrible Fantastic Four movie that came out in the 90s. Then you got the Tim Story movie that came out 10 years ago in 2005, as well as its sequel that came out in 2007. Now, the Tim Story movies, I didn't hate like most people did. Now, I'm not saying it's a good movie. I do find some enjoyment in that movie, but I will be the first to tell you that they are not great films. And so I like the old Fantastic Four movies so much that I don't mind owning them on Blu-ray, so... Hey, it's nostalgic, so... Hey. And I even remember before those movies came out, they started selling the Fantastic Four comic books at my middle school book fair. But now this new reboot, it is directed by Josh Trank, who directed Chronicle. Now I did like that movie, and I think it's one of the best found footage movies that we've had in the past 4 years. But there has been a lot of bad buzz surrounding this movie, like from rumors of Josh Trank trashing the hotel room and showing up drunk on set or whatever. The reveal of the Fantastic Four being what John Campea of Collider Movie Talk calls them, the Fantastic Four babies. A lot of script rewrites and stuff. And of course, the Human Torch being played by a black man, Michael B. Jordan. But despite all of that, I still remained optimistic about the movie because I've been wanting a good Fantastic Four movie that we can take seriously. So the plot is Reed Richards, he's a scientist, and then he gets hired by Mr. Storm to work with them for this project that they created, because Reed Richards, he created a teleportation device that transported them to different dimensions and stuff. And so it was successful, and then they tried it on themselves, and then they get transported to another world. Long story short, they get their powers, and then the second half, and then that's where the movie fell apart. I'll get into that later, but for right now, here are the positives. The cast ensemble. Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic, Kate Mara as the Invisible Woman, Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, and Jamie Bell as Grimm the Thing. Now, I will say the first half of this movie, it was like a good little origin story. It was a good character building, and it was a good setup and seeing how they got to where they are. Like, the first half, it was very, very interesting. But then the second half of the movie started. Now, here's a segue into my negatives. I saw where they were going with this movie. The first half of this movie, it was good, and it was good building, but then the second half is where everything just started to crumble apart. The second half just fell apart. It's like, after they got their powers, it's like they're controlled by the government, and Dr. Doom just comes out of nowhere. It's like, all of a sudden, he's the villain, and there's no reason for him to be the villain. And the way they butcher... I'll get into Dr. Doom later, but for right now, like, this movie just fell apart so bad that it makes the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies actually look good, and that is not a good sign. And one of the reasons why, like, going back to the cast, is like even the main cast in this movie, is like, even though I said they weren't really the problem with the movie, but them working together in the movie, they just didn't have that synergy that I felt the old cast had. Now, granted, Jessica Alba, she was miscast as the Invisible Woman, but everyone else in the original cast, it worked, and you actually see them adapt to their powers or whatever. Them, you barely get to see them adapt to their powers, and there's barely any action in this movie. This movie was just dull, boring, actionless, and it's like there's not even any light in this movie. Like, this movie was so dark, and it took itself too seriously. Now look, I don't want this to be like fun and laughable like the other movies. I don't want it to be too campy, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too dark that you forget to have fun. And especially all the exposition in this movie, like the majority of this movie is just nothing but exposition to get to point A to point B, and it's just explaining stuff. And there's a bunch of nothing going on in this movie, especially considering this movie is like only an hour and 45 minutes. And even the visuals in this movie, I figured, hey, at least give us some good CGI and special effects or whatever. But some of the visual effects and CGI in this movie were very, very questionable. Like, especially when they go to that other dimension, and it just looked like something straight out of a sci-fi channel. Again, as for the characters, even though I said they're not the problem, there was something missing from the characters. It was like Miles Teller as Reed Richards. It's like Reed Richards in the comics, he's supposed to be the smartest man in the universe. And they didn't really illustrate that very well. Kate Mara as Sue Storm, is like, she was very dull and just monotone. It didn't really work for me. Now granted, she's better than Jessica Alba, I can tell you that right now. Michael B. Jordan, I didn't really have much of a problem with him. In fact, I'm gonna say this, as Johnny Storm, I like him better than Chris Evans Like, he wasn't much of a hothead as Chris Evans was in the old Fantastic Four movies. But as the Human Torch, I don't know. He kind of worked. But Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, I swear, he was sidelined and just an afterthought in this movie. Ben Grimm in the comics, he's supposed to be like this athlete and fighter jets or whatever, and he's like second to Reed Richards. But in here, he's just second to Reed Richards, and he was just this side character that didn't really seem unimportant. And they just like there's a scene in the movie where it's just Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Victor. It's all of them. All of them are useful for something. And then Reed is like, hey Ben, we're trying to check this out. You want to come? And then he comes in there, and that's really how they shoehorn him into the rest of the movie. As the Thing, though, it's kind of give and take. You know how I feel about him having no pants. But as the Thing, worked. It didn't. I just wish they could have did more with him. But the comparison between the CGI Thing and Michael Chiklis's practical Thing, as in the costume, as the character, not, you know what I mean. But look, but the point is, to compare the two, that's a conversation for another day, because it's give and take. They're not bad, but at the same time, they're not totally terrible. Now, Dr. Doom in this movie, spoiler, come on now, you know Dr. Doom was in this movie. But like I said, the second half of this movie, Dr. Doom just came out of nowhere, and they didn't have nothing for his character, and he just came out of nowhere. There wasn't any reason behind his madness and his villainous ways. But the overall look for the character, they butchered the heck out of him. Now, granted, I knew before him that Victor Doom, he was going to be like this blogger type guy that's in Lassiter. Like, I can roll with that, but it's just they didn't really illustrate on that. The Dr. Doom from the Tim Story movies, at least that was somewhat accurate and more believable. Here, he just looked like some man. He looked like one of those test dummies at a test track, and his powers just came out of nowhere. Like, he just have telekinetic powers for some reason and just blow people up out of nowhere. That is not Dr. Doom, whereas people are calling him Dr. Dumb. Like, actually, like one of my friends, he said he did not want to see this movie because Dr. Doom is one of his favorite Marvel villains, and they did not like how they butchered the character. Hey, it still could work, you never know. And I hate it when I'm wrong, because they totally butchered Dr. Doom in this movie. Now, as far as Toby Kebbell as Victor, I actually liked him. He was kind of cool. Like, you all remember, Toby Kebbell, he played Koba in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Good actor. Wasn't bad as Victor, but as Dr. Doom, guys, in the end, I had high hopes for the Fantastic Four, but it failed miserably. And Fox and Josh Trank, they really dropped the ball on this one. And I actually have faith in Fox, because they were really starting to get the ball rolling on Fox. They had everything on track. And then I had high hopes for Fantastic Four, and it seemed like they just really didn't. They learned nothing from the Fantastic Four 10 story movies. And I'm hearing stories that Josh Trank, that he wants to distance himself from this movie, and I don't blame him. And I'm hearing stories of how Fox, they had interference with Josh Trank's overall vision of the movie, and it didn't come to fruition. And apparently this movie is sitting at 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, under Batman and Robin. That is definitely not good. But overall, I just hope this movie fails at the box office. I hope it underperforms so that they would consider giving the rights back to Marvel so that we can finally get a good Fantastic Four movie that we deserve, and that they could, somehow incorporate the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because in the end, this movie was wasted potential, and it deserves its 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The best I can say about this movie is that it's slightly better than the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies. But even that isn't really saying much. Look, I'm done with this movie, alright? This movie was wasted potential. It had so much promise in the beginning, but then it all just fell apart in the end. And I really hope they do not make a sequel to this movie. I just hope they scrap that completely and just have some other plans for the Fantastic Four and give it back to Marvel. I'm gonna give the Fantastic Four a D+ for wasted potential. In case you remember, a D+ means that I feel like this movie's good, but you're not gonna have no desire to watch it again. I changed it. I made some alterations to my rating systems. I'll let you know that when I can. But let me know, what did you see this Fantastic Four movie? Let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Just let me know in the comment section below. That's it for the day. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my other channel. The links are in the description below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Periscope, and Movie Pilot. Peace.